if you're a mixed SR team, you need to play to your strengths. You have to go over your basics. Confidence is key. Lower players, confidence is going to naturally be low, just how it is. Let's bring it up. It's okay to make mistakes. It's totally fine. Take constructive criticism from your top players, your managers, your coaches. Work hard, improve. You'll get there. Communication, basic communication. Play to enable each other. And the last thing, whoever your top player is, have the right mentality sort of in approaching this situation. Alright, so I want to go into, this is a topic I think some people were interested in. And essentially what I want to talk about is I'm going to give 5 tips to essentially make a mixed SR team work. Just some background on mixed SR teams. A lot of collegiate teams, high school teams, honestly even like league teams and pug teams are mixed SR. I've worked with quite a lot, so I have a decent experience, I'd say. I'm not like by all means the expert. I don't think anyone is per se, but I have some decent ideas, and I hopefully these like 5 things will sort of help you out if you are on a mixed SR team or managing or coaching one mixed SR teams. Let's make it work. Or better than make it work, let's make it like a mixed XR team, make it succeed. Oh, there we go. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Wrong thing. So, now let's sort of go into this. So the first thing I think is like the biggest thing, and I think most people know about this, but when you're playing on a mixed SR team, you need to play to your player's strengths. And even an Owl, straight up, doesn't matter if it's a mixed SR team. Like Shock, you'll see people playing sometimes Zen because they have Violet. You'll see, when they had Striker, they'd play a lot of Tracer. When they had Onslaught, played a lot of Widow. So, in general, play to your player's strengths. When you're on a mixed SR team, even more of a reason to play to your strengths. You do not need to copy the meta. If the meta is, I don't know, let's say it's Brawl, and it's like, and it's sort of, let's say like, so a play to your friends. So if like, let's say the meta is Brawl, for instance. So it's like Ryan, D.Va, May, McCree, might run out of space, Lucio, Bap. Let's say you just don't have a May player. You just don't have a May player and you don't have a Bap player. It doesn't exist. So then, and maybe you have an insane Reaper Doom. You're just like the best Reaper Doom. Even that. Let's say you have an insane Reaper player and you've got a decent hit scan, but you don't have a Bap player. So instead, you go Ryan, D.Va, and I think I said you have a good Reaper player, so you play Reaper. You keep them at McCree because you've got a good hit scan player. You go Lucio, and now you go Moira. And now you're sort of playing, for your DPS, and you're also playing for your support. So you're putting the support on a more comfort hit pick that's not something they don't like, and this composition still works. Is it like fully ideal? No, sure, it's not. It's not meta, but by making a few swaps because your team's more comfortable with it and like they're playing characters they're really good at, they'll probably inherently play better on this composition than they probably would in a meta comp. Also, something else to just think about is, if you force people to play roles that they're not, I guess we'll get in a second, but if you force people to play heroes that they're like not comfortable with, or off role, that will inherently make people unhappy. And something else I'll bring up is this concept of off rolling. When you're on a mixed SR team, sometimes people will be forced to off roll just because you may not have enough DPS, or you may not have maybe a main tank, so you have to have an off tank play a main tank. And the biggest thing here is really to like make sure that player is okay with that, and make sure that they're still like they're playing the comfort main tank heroes, or trying to play a little bit more or make his life a little bit easier because he's playing a role he's not as good with or familiar with. So sort of, make sure if you're putting someone in a difficult situation, you're not putting him in even more difficult situation by putting him on heroes that he's even more uncomfortable with. Try and adjust to him as well, because in general, people are unhappy. That's going to make it very hard to improve, and it's not going to be very good for the environment. So let's move down here. Next thing is blue. Number 2. Uh, it sounds really weird, but because you're in a mixed SR team, you need to cover your basics. Like you have to, because you're gonna have maybe like a 4.5k player, maybe he's from like top tier 3 team, just know everything, and then you might have like a mid diamond player who doesn't know like the basics of brawl, or doesn't know that in how ball comp basic positioning works in ball comp, or how alts are used. She just doesn't know that, right? And it's really important that you get on the same page and you sort of say like, okay, this is how we plan on using ultimates. We want to use these alts in brawl, high noon window to take space, and we want to use beats mid fight and May alts mid fight maybe, and that way all of a sudden the diamond player now sort of understands his role better and can contribute to stuff and actually like improve, instead of having maybe the 4.5k player literally micro everybody on the team and basically control the entire team. That's not very fun for the 4.5k player because he's literally doing everything, plus his own mechanics performance is probably going to go down because he's microing everybody. And I mean, to be frank, also the 4.5 player might also get annoyed, right? Because he's like, man, I already know the basics. Why are we teaching the basics? So a way to approach that is sort of have some individual goals for him to work on, so that he has stuff that he can work on during scrims while the team's working on basic macro that he already knows, and he does naturally. But he has some other micro goals or some things that he can work on and he can fix so that he can improve. Okay. Next thing is confidence. I want to check one thing really fast here. Make sure. Okay, cool. Is confidence. So confidence is like so important, and the reason why I'm bringing up confidence is because when you have like again, let's say a 3.7 roster, and on the 3.7 roster you've got a 4.k2 player. So you've got a 3.7k roster, you have a 4.2k player, and then maybe you've got like a 2.9k player. This player here is always going to be like scared. This player is going to be so scared to make mistakes because they know that they're the lowest SR. So they already feel bad. They legitimately probably already feel bad. They're like, oh man, if I don't want to use my ult here, I'm scared I'm gonna make a mistake. Oh, I don't want to use my lamp. It's gonna be a bad lamp. I'm gonna mess up. Or oh, I don't want to beat. I'll Ajax and I'll just die. They'll be so scared to make mistakes because they already think they're bad and they don't want to do something wrong, which will inherently make things worse. And this is a really wrong way to look at it, because to be straight up honest, if they don't actually make mistakes, if they don't actually try and be proactive, they're not going to be able to improve. You learn through making mistakes. You also learn through just being more proactive and understanding your role. If you make mistakes, you learn what not to do, hence you learn your role better. So it's really important that the environment is sort of positive, so it allows people who are lower SR or just in general any SR to be confident. And again, you build that confidence in making mistakes and having an environment which says it's okay to overult. It's okay, if you mess up your ultimate. We'll look back at it. We'll learn at it. Don't worry about it. Just go next. So yeah, I think that this sort of self-explanatory. That sort of explains itself. But I can't stress that enough. Confidence is really, really, really important. 4, communication. So when you're on, again, a mixed SR team, people are all different levels, whatnot. One of the biggest things I think that everyone talks about is alt tracking, scouting, planning. Yes, that's basics. Try and get that down. Try and get it clean. But I think what's actually more important is this concept of like enabling each other and using comms to enable each other in mid fights or in general. And sort of this concept of like listening to what your teammate's saying and then understanding how to enable that person. So for instance, let's say we are looking to we're looking to go in with Farah Barrage at the start of. I'm not sure why, but let's say we're gonna look into Farah Barrage. Then maybe your ball player will be like, okay, yeah, sure, we're gonna Farah Barrage. I'm gonna like slam them, so it'll make it a bit harder for them to like deal with you. Or maybe I'll roll through them, and then your maybe Diva player says, I can DM you, I can DM you. Your Onyx player can maybe say, I'll hard pocket you, right? And Mercy's obviously already hard pocketing. So like what Farah is saying, I'm gonna barrage, and all of a sudden all your teammates are saying comms that actually like help your plan out and make you feel more confident and like get you more value, right? That those are like in my opinion like such useful communication that will inherently just help your team and help your honest plan, your plan to succeed. Another example could be something like, I'm looking to mail out this fight. Then maybe your McCree could be like, okay, I'm gonna go purposely go off angle to try and bait the diva on me. If she does, I'll call it. Or maybe another one would be like, Ryan could say, I'm gonna fire strike to force DM. It's an old trick. Or maybe Lucio, like maybe your here's another good example. Maybe your BAP says I can window first to force a lot of DM, knowing maybe they don't have a mace, so they don't mail all the window, but maybe he says these windows to force DM. Then after DM is low, then maybe we mailed, right? Like there you go. So like it's sort of a communication that enables each other. And the last one is the top player, and I'm always going to mention this because in most issues happen when you're on a mixed SR team. It's the lower player and the top player. The lower player not being as confident and needs to just try things out, learn, make mistakes, get better because that's how you're going to get better. And the top player, sort of maybe somebody having an attitude, ego, getting tilted, not happy with the improvement coming fast enough, stuff like that. So what really the top player, it's you have to be a bit patient. Improvement will happen, but it takes time. You need to be positive as well, and you need to have really no ego, or like very minimal ego and attitude. Like very very minimal attitude, very minimal ego. Um, and if you do, and then if you have an ego, you have an attitude, if you're not positive, you're not patient, what ends up happening is that indirectly puts more pressure on the lower player who may already, or not, that lower players that which may or may not already be confident, and then that makes it even harder for them to be confident. So by you being annoyed and whatnot, you're sort of making the team, even it makes the team even harder to improve. And I know that sort of sucks, right? But unfortunately, that's just a fact of the matter. So the way to approach it, right, and things that'll help you is maybe have these goals every week, sort of saying, okay, we can try, and this can be done by coach or manager. Have some basic goals, like, okay, we're going to learn the basics of brawl. Then we're going to look at like in the positioning, alt usage. Yeah, sure. Positioning and alt usage. Then maybe after that, look at maybe advanced stuff like mid fight, like how to approach certain mid fight scenarios, like trading or ebb and flow. I mean, the next week. So, and that way you sort of know that you're improving. And then being positive is really important, and just saying small things like, "Oh, dude, that was a really good beat," or "Man, that like you improved a lot today," or just things like that. Positive comments to lower players that'll bring their confidence up goes such a long way. Like you have no idea, like because a lot of lower players will always like respect the top players. So when they say things, most of the time they'll be like, okay, and they'll listen and they'll try their best, right, to improve. But so saying nice things like that, or nice kill, or like nice ultimate, that it just goes a long way. And another way also is like it'll make you also feel like you're helping them too. Is give them constructive criticism like privately, as long as they're okay with it. Don't like overload them like one small thing, like, hey, I noticed you did this. I think it's maybe you could try doing something like this, or give it to the coach and let the coach or staff members deal with it, because that way it's a little bit looking better. Um, but that's another way so that you're, if you have things at least you're thinking of that need to be fixed, it can still be fixed. It's just done in a more constructive way. I think that is it. So just a recap, if you're a mixed SR team, you need to play to your strengths. You have to go over your basics. Confidence is key. Lower players, confidence is going to naturally be low, just how it is. Let's bring it up. It's okay to make mistakes. It's totally fine. Take constructive criticism from your top players, your managers, your coaches. Work hard, improve. You'll get there. Communication, basic communication. Play to enable each other. And the last thing, whoever your top player is, have the right mentality sort of in approaching this situation. Okay. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.